We've got 3 days left in the Julius Escapes event, so it's time for an update. Let's take a look at the quests. So the last video I put out talked about the quest changes, the number of tokens you'd get for defeats, and it looks like that was fairly accurate. That was coming from the forums. The only change I've seen, and it may have been an update since that time, there were actually 3 quests that had 4 tokens for 5 kills. It started at that 85 mark at 85 defeats, and then going up 85 to 90, 90 to 95, and 95 to 100 were all 4 tokens for 5 defeats. So a tiny bit of a change there, but otherwise it's been exactly the same. I'm now working up to, on that that first group of 25, going from 100 to 125 defeats, and gonna get 10 tokens for that. So getting pretty close. If you remember from the last video, the goal was to get to 150 total defeats, and at that point we'll be able to unlock Julius and not have any trouble. So we've got 3 days left. I think if I have even around 48 hours, maybe a little bit more than that, I'll be able to get to that 150 point. By the end of this evening I should be at the 125, and that'll give me all day tomorrow and some extra slack time to make it to the 150 defeats. So on the home stretch, everything looks good there. Let's take a look at total tokens earned for him. Again, we've got to get to the bottom of this massively long list now. All the way down here. Okay, so I'm sitting at 78 out of 100, and you remember that getting to this first set for 125 is going to give me 10 more tokens, and then getting that next 25 to the 150 mark of number of defeats is going to give me an additional 10. So I'll get 20 tokens from those 2 quests, and that would put me up to 98. And as I mentioned before, I'm getting 2 per day on the campaign map. So I'll have plenty. Before this is over, I should have probably somewhere around 106 to 110, depending on how things go. Another thing to mention, let's go out of this and go to my dungeon. I mentioned early in this event, I think in the first video, that I was guessing that the last weekend they were going to end up doing using Julius as a reward, and it turns out that they did. So here he is. I likely won't go that high up in the ranking here, partly because unless you're in that top 3, there's really not a huge difference in the number of tokens. I'm already going to have him. Having a couple extra tokens on the way to 100 additional tokens isn't really going to do me a whole lot of benefit. So I'll probably try to get into maybe the top 25. Probably not even that top 10. And again, the token difference is only 2, so it's not a huge concern. The further you go up, as you might imagine, in levels, the more competitive the leaderboard gets. So right now I've got 5 defeats and no losses, and I'm still only ranked at the 45th position. You know, this has only been going on for a short time. We've already got people who have done a lot of battles, and you know, they're really ranking up many more points. Here the point spread isn't actually that high. Going to the second person here, there's only about 100 trophy point spread between where I'm at 45 and the number 2 person. But as this progresses, more and more of these players are going to end up using a lot of gems. So it gets harder to compete and make it further up the tournament board as you're going without spending any gems at higher levels. A lot of the higher level characters or players have spent a fair number of gems. But that said, we can still be competitive, and the nice thing is that the rewards that they have going on, unless you get first place, it's really not, it really doesn't make a huge difference. Right? Most of these are for Pontifex. You're going to keep getting Pontifex tokens over time. He's a nice character, but not a game changer. No status infliction with his skills, which really seem to help out. You know, the big thing about IGOROK is that polar pounding skill, and it's not the damage. I mean, the damage is great, but it's the effect of freezing the other team, the whole other team. That's the massively beneficial thing there. Pontifex just doing damage means that he's not nearly as useful. So the point being, making it to the top of that leaderboard is fun, but not necessarily critical to moving forward in this game. and it really doesn't give you all that much more benefit. So that said, a few other things. Hopefully you're fairly close in progress level to with the points that I'm showing here. You can be a little further back and not have any trouble. If you're a little further back at this point, it might not hurt to spend a little bit of gem, exchange some gems for stamina if you have to. One of the things that's put me further ahead than I had anticipated was I've had 2 level ups during this event. I had one at the very beginning and then another one just late yesterday, I believe. And then they also gave out a something in the mail. I guess they had some screw up with one of their packages in the shop, and so they gave out, I think, another 40 energy for that. So those energy boosts have been nice, and also as you go through and get the shiny objects in dungeons, that gives you a little bit more energy as well to keep going. So I've been able to maintain a somewhat faster pace than I had anticipated, just based on the conservative math that we put forth in the last video. But like I said, it's gone very well. Now that I've had a lot of dungeons that I've gone through, I would say there's not too much to be concerned with in terms of which ones you're going through. I seem to be getting decent odds as I go through, and like I said, it hasn't been a concern, and it doesn't feel like I have any pressure in not being able to make it to that 100. I do have a favorite level to go through, and it's that same one I think I pointed out that one video back from here. Once I get done with everything else, I usually end up going to this one that's coming right up here. Let's see, almost there. There we go, the Black Fortress. Partly because it has a Valkyrie Evo, and partly because, for whatever reasons, I seem to get a very high rate of Julius showing up there. So that's worked out well for me. The only downside, not for that level, but just in general, at one point I mistakenly used a skill that had fear in it, and that caused Julius to run away. So I lost 1 defeat that way, but it looks like that's not going to be an issue anyway. So anyway, that's most of it. I did want to show one other thing for the characters. I've collected enough IGOROK tokens at this point that I'm sitting just 1 away from getting him to that 4-star level, and I'm really looking forward to that. He's such a powerful character anyway. Getting him up in the star level to that 4-star area is going to be great. So I wish they would put out just 1 more token. That would be great, and get him to that level. I'm excited about getting him up a little higher. I use him on all aspects, PvP, offense, defense, and campaign mode, so any benefit to him is very helpful. That's about it for me. I hope this is helpful. I think I'll put out 1 more video when I actually get to unlock our Julius character here. My overall goal with a lot of these videos, and some of this came out during this last event, some of these events are really challenging, and there's only 1 route in order to unlock the character. You've got to be very disciplined to get it done. These videos in general that I'm trying to put out, I'm hoping that I'll be able to help out other people who are trying to either spend very little money on the game or not spend any money at all, and still be able to get these characters or get as much out of the game as possible. So that's the goal for this. I think if we try to check back in on these events, again, Lord Zom was very much like this. We're able to farm in just the right way with a little bit of strategy to it and unlock him, and Julius similarly. It looks like at this point there's no concern. We should be able to get him without any trouble. Tune back in for future events as well, and we should be able to, again, make sure we've got the strategy down right so that we can either just unlock the character or unlock them and get up to the highest level, star level, for that character that we can. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching.